Best Legion programs anywhere, of course, here Post 31. And congratulations to our baseball team, the runner-up in 2008. A great accomplishment. Thank you very much for being here tonight, and congratulations to you guys. That's it. We'll catch you next year. We decided to shorten things up a little bit this year. I just, again, would like to thank you all for being here tonight as we honored Rutland Post 31. We'll have the complete program coming up shortly. First off, though, I want to introduce you to Bob Cassidy, who is the first Vice Commander of Rutland Post 31. Bob?
Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight. On behalf of Commander Dick Daly, I welcome you. He was not able to be here tonight. He wanted to be here, so I'm going to fill in for his place. Could I ask everyone, please stand and face the flag?
Sit there. Sit down.
Colors being in place, hand salute. 2, please remain standing till after the Pledge of Allegiance and prayer from Bill Sweeney. Uncover, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Chaplain Bill Sweeney will now offer a prayer and grace for tonight's meal.
Our Father, how great thou art. You have blessed us in so many ways, and we thank you for the opportunity to unite in this moment of prayer, a special privilege we have in America. We ask your blessing on this food and our fellowship as we partake, be an added blessing as we strive to keep America one nation under God. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much, Bob. As we mentioned, and Bob mentioned, first Vice Commander of Rutland Post 31, and he's substituting for Dick Daly, who did have a prior commitment. And I think, and I was really looking forward to seeing Dick Daly tonight, because I wanted to embarrass him again in public. People may or may not know that Dick did go on the radio station back in May, had sponsored a trip down to Baltimore to watch the Red Sox play Baltimore. It happened to be the night that Manny hit his 500th career home run, and Dick missed it. He was at the concession stand. So it was just Dick being Dick, and we're sorry about that. But enjoy your meal, and we are going to have the head table served first, and ball players and parents, ball players. Program underway, and again, welcome to all of you here as we honor the Rutland Post 31 American Legion baseball team. And again, our thanks to the kitchen staff here. I know Bob already thanked them before the meal, and I told Bob I'm going to wait till after the meal. You came through with flying colors. Thank you very much. I would like to welcome Bob again, the first Vice Commander. I guess he officially introduces me, and then we'll get going. All right, Bob.
Thank you, Jack. Thanks for everybody for coming. It's real nice to come. I know people are probably doing stuff between today and Thanksgiving, so thank you for attending. And I'm going to introduce Mr. Jack Healy.
Makes it official. I want to introduce the head table. I was just thinking as I think back over the years here at Rutland Post 31, the previous, I remember back the way the Legion Hall was back in the 80s. I was telling Tom Haley and also Doug McPhee here to my far left about how many years it's been. And this is way before you guys were even born. It reminded me watching Doug Flutie. He was up on ESPN or doing the studio work at a football game upstairs before I came down here, and I actually was a little bit late that day in 1984. It was the day after Thanksgiving in 1984 when Doug Flutie threw the Hail Mary pass against Miami for Boston College, and it was right after that we came in. I remember, sorry about being late tonight, but Doug Flutie just won the game in the last second against Miami, so that was a long time ago. But it's funny how time flies, for sure. I'd like to introduce to you the head table. Some are here and others are scattered around. So to my far left is, well, I'll just introduce, I know who that is to my far left. It's Doug McPhee, Mr. Bellows Falls. Oh, you were invited. I thought you just dropped in.
Well, I heard it was a lunch check, but I had to
Okay, I wasn't sure. Because you should have heard about 5 people say when you came in, Doug. Who invited Doug McPhee? I didn't.
Ron Fairbanks, nice guy.
And we also have Tom David, who is the, we've already introduced you to Bob Cassidy, the first vice commander. Tom David is here, who is the second vice commander. Also, Larry Elliott, who is the finance officer. I'm not necessarily going in order here, but Tom Healy is here from the Rutland Herald as well. Bill Sweeney, the Post 31 chaplain. Also at the head table during dinner, Jerry Munger from Channel 15, who telecast all the action here this year, and he's here tonight as well. Also to my right, as we continue with the head table, Chad Bentz, who is the guest speaker tonight. We'll hear from Chad a little bit later. Rutland Post 31 head coach Tony Sorelli. Rutland Post 31 assistant coach Nicole Densmore. I'm sorry, she's not the assistant coach, she's the scoreboard and music person. You might as well be the assistant coach. I heard some of your comments up in the press box. Jamie Briggs, Post 31 assistant coach. George Bennett, Post 31 assistant coach. Ron Fairbanks, team manager. And I'm going to, am I missing anybody? I got some more that I'm going to introduce here. I think I could probably introduce just about everybody in here. Yeah, I'll be introducing out here just a second. Yeah, and Nicole is very important. She's on this list as well. For the second time, Nicole Densmore, I'll get it straight this time, charge of scoreboard and music. You're on 2 lists, Nicole. So I hope you get a t-shirt or something again this year. I got a sweatshirt, okay. We mentioned Commander Dick Daly earlier. Also, the Adjutant Al Grazzini is here. Al. Judge Advocate Ted Corsones. Sergeant at Arms Steve Kipp. Service Officer Jim Sheehan. Historian Pat Lebo. Also the Executive Board, Don Schwanier, Dick Blangi, Gigi Corsones is here, I know that. And Charles Franzoni is here. And also Ron Fairbanks. And Ron Fairbanks is here as well as a member, not only team manager, but the baseball committee. And the rest of the baseball committee is Bill Flory, who I'll say every year, Bill gets younger every year. Unbelievable. And I did read about your trip to North Carolina with Mr. Fairbanks, and where was it next year, Oklahoma? Or North Dakota? North Dakota, so you'll be going to North Dakota next year for the national tournament. And I was going to mention John, the very next person, John Mahan from Clinton, Mass. is here. You too look younger every year, John. And I guess that whole table looks younger every year. Let me just, Norm Laddebush is here as well, John Turner. And also Ginger and Nancy, they're here tonight. Hey, thank you very much. The greatest fans in the world. Sean is here. He wasn't originally going to come, but he smelled the roast beef about a block away, and so he decided to drop in too. And the PA announcer, I don't believe Steve Shortle is here, but we thank Steve Shortle for all he does, and we thank him very much. Sam Garuso is here, and a cast of thousands. Sam, by the way, is wearing the jacket, one of 2 jackets worn by Tom Arnold for the movie, what is it, Mistletoe and Moonlight?
Moonlight mistletoe.
Okay, Moonlight Mistletoe, which was filmed in Chester and will be on the Holiday Channel? Hallmark. Holiday Channel, I don't the Hallmark Channel or something tomorrow night. It was filmed in Chester, but one of those 2 jackets that Tom Arnold wore did he clean it before you used it, or make sure you take it to the cleaners before he gets it back? That's all I want to know. All right, thanks, Sam. So that's coming up tomorrow night, the film filmed in Chester. Also, I would like, I believe now we have a very special presentation. Mrs. Susanna Quistapay, did I miss somebody? I'm sorry. Okay. We're going to have Tony for it. You know, Ron, you probably could have saved, some money by doing this yourself tonight. I want to reintroduce you to Tony Sorelli first off, and then, of course, we have the nice picture demonstration. Tony Sorelli.
Good evening. Thanks, Jack. Before I get into introducing the players, I'd like to thank all of you for coming here this evening. And I'd just like to say what a privilege and an honor it is to have coached Rutland Post 31 for the past 7 years. I'm very fortunate. I feel very humbled, and I feel very deeply appreciative to everything that the Post has done for me, as a baseball coach. And fellas, you should think the same way from the standpoint of being players here. This Post does so much for you guys as players that we need to also think about how fortunate we are, because we don't have to do half of what some other players need to do around the state as far as fundraising and everything else that goes involved with participating in Legion baseball. I just think of some of the teams up north like Essex and South Burlington where the players are paying upwards of $750 to play Legion baseball. And if you just do the numbers for a second, $750 times 18 players, that's what most teams have. If you do that math real quick, it tells you a little bit about what our budget is and what Post 31 does for you guys as players here. And believe me, it's actually higher than that from the standpoint of the budget here for Post 31. So from the standpoint of financial thanks, and also for everything else that the Post does for us, I'd like to thank you. That includes this banquet and also the pizza party that we had after our game against the doubleheader against Brattleboro at the end of our season. So thank you, Post 31. I know that the auxiliary was already thanked, but I'd like to thank them also. It was a great dinner here this evening. The roast beef was excellent. And before I introduce the players and say a little bit about them, I just have some other things. And if for some reason, if I forget you, if I don't mention you, I'm just giving a broad overall thanks right now for everybody who's been a part of the program in my tenure as the baseball coach here for the past 7 years here at Post 31. But in particular, I'd like to thank my coaching staff. And I'd like to start with George Bennett. George and I have been together for 7 years, and George has been within the Post 31 program for 18 years. Is that correct? Or is it longer than that, George? Right around 18 years. And I know I say this every year, but I'm going to say it once again. I would not do this job if it wasn't for the job that my assistants do for me and for what Ron does for me as the team manager. And the reason being is that, on a good week, I'm spending anywhere between 30 and 40 hours involved with baseball, whether it be coaching, traveling, picking up vans, filling up vans, doing whatever we need to do to get ready for a baseball game. And usually what we'll do on an away trip, and even at home games, I'll show up at the field, and everything is all set from a standpoint of equipment. George has, for every away game, George has everything right at the gate, ready to go, so when we pull in with our vans, all we do is we load the vans, we do a quick head count, and off we go to our game. Stuff that I don't have to worry about at all. George also has helped me in the past several years. He's been my first base coach, and he's done an excellent job over at first base. I know a few times I yell across the diamond at him, but George, you know that you've done a great job for me, and I really appreciate everything that you've done for the program. this year, we put together a coaching staff back in January, and as the season started to get a little bit closer, and after we went through a couple of our meetings, here at the Legion, and this is the statewide meetings, we soon realized that my coaching staff had to change a little bit. And I was very fortunate, being that last year and several years before that, I had Jeff Brewer as my assistant baseball coach. And in the wintertime, I had recruited Jimmy O'Neill from over at Ludlow High School in Black River to be my assistant coach. And things changed where Jimmy couldn't do it for a number of different reasons. And I worked out at Burton Academy, and I was fortunate enough to have one of my coworkers down at Burton, and I know Jamie Briggs, who's over here on the right-hand side. Jamie is the JV baseball coach down at Burton. And I asked Jamie if he wanted to help out with the Post 31 program this year, and I told him it's a huge commitment. He had to commute 45 minutes one way just to get up here for a practice or a game, but he met the challenge. He was here for all the practices, all the games, and he put a few miles on his car. Did an excellent job as my bench coach, working with the kids, and I think the kids really appreciated having him as part of the program and working with the players. So Jamie, I just want to thank you for everything that you did. And it comes down to Ronnie. Ron does so much for Post 31 baseball, Ronnie Fairbanks, that I can't even begin to tell you. Ron and I meet, throughout the year, several times throughout the year. We have several committee meetings during the course of the year. One of my favorite things to do is to actually come here to the Legion on a Saturday morning, sit down and have a cup of coffee and have a donut with the guys upstairs, and then break off and go into some of our meetings and start going over our budget and try to figure out how we are going to piece things together for you guys so that you have a successful season. And Ronnie does this year round. Sometimes he'll say to me, geez, I think I need to go back and start to work full time, because being that he's retired, he's actually put in more time, in particular here at the Legion, and he's just done an outstanding job for me. We have been together for the past 7 years, and I will say this just like with George, Ron, that if it wasn't for your support and your help, it'd be very difficult for me to run a program and for the kids to do what they do without your support and doing all the paperwork in particular. So thank you very much. And Marianne, thank you. Marianne here, thank you for giving them up for the summer and throughout the year. And I had another member of the coaching staff this year. I don't know if you ever were at our games, our home games in particular, but Sean Pelletier, who's right over here. Sean is my right-hand man, and we talked throughout every game. And after every game, Sean would come right out with the team, and he wasn't afraid, especially after a loss, to tell these guys what they needed to do to get ready for the next game. And you know what? Half the time, I didn't have to say a word because Sean was right on. He was there for the game. He saw what was going on. He saw either something that we weren't doing or we could do better, and he was not afraid to speak up. A couple of times I had to say, Sean, okay, calm down a little bit, but he did an outstanding job. And Sean, I appreciate everything that you've done for the program, and continue to be a part of it. I know that the kids really appreciate having you there. Sean, Natasha McPhee is here. And as they announced at the Southern Tournament, the best-looking back girl in the state of Vermont is right there, Natasha McPhee. Thank you. I'd like to thank Nicole. That's the third time that she's been mentioned tonight, but Nicole pointed out to me that this is her 8th season with the program this year. And Nicole does a variety of things, and in particular, she's in addition to doing the scoreboard and doing some announcing and everything else that she does as far as having music down at the field, she will occasionally bring down some French fries for me to chow on either before practice or before a game. So thank you, Nicole, for everything that you do for the program. I also want to thank Steve Shortle. Steve is not here this evening, but he was pretty much at every one of our games, announcing our games for the kids and for the players. The MSJ ground crew. Again, we would not be able to do half the things that we do as a team if it wasn't for them. And in particular, at the end of the season this year, we had some pretty rotten weather to deal with, and these guys were out there doing a tremendous job trying to get that field ready for us to play. I know that the Brattleboro game, we got rained out a couple of times. Brattleboro actually took a couple of trips up and we sent them home, but eventually we did get that game in. But I know Johnny Chaffee wasn't too happy with me a couple of times because we tried to get the games in, but a special thank you goes out to those guys, Mickey Kelly, Johnny Chaffee, Wendell Tilden, additional helpers. Glenn, I know, helped out quite a bit. Glenn Carter, Mike Grabowski, Dick Densmore, and everybody else that participated in taking care of the field. So thank you very much. We were also very fortunate this year as we started getting into the end of the season. I had a little arm problem earlier in the year, and I got a little bit better, but then I had a little neck and back injury where I couldn't throw a ball for about a week and a half. And this gentleman over here to my right, Chad Bentz, who's a major league pitcher, fortunate enough to live in West Rutland, Ira area, stopped down one day and said, geez, he needs somebody to throw a little batting practice, and in particular he's a left-handed pitcher, and I said, absolutely, come on down. And I'd like to thank Chad because he did that a couple of times towards the end of the season, which really helped us out because, as a right-handed thrower, when you're trying to throw batting practice and you're trying to get ready for the likes of Sam Maycumber and some other lefties that we faced during the course of the season, it's really nice to have somebody in addition to Coach Briggs who's also left-handed to throw. So Chad, thank you very much for helping us out. Tremendous coverage we have post 31 between Jerry Munger back here, who's videotaping this evening. Jerry, I'd like to thank you for everything, for putting us on TV and having a lot of our games on TV, and you're analyzing the games. It's excellent. And also for you, Jack, for doing the radio coverage that you do for SYP. Thank you very much. I'd also like to thank the parents and the players. I know it's a long season. We make many sacrifices. As I mentioned earlier, there are some weeks where we ended up playing more games in actual days because of doubleheaders getting backed up towards the end of the year. So it becomes a little trying at times, and I know that the kids were tired, but we had an outstanding season, and the kids, like the coaches, made many sacrifices to do what they needed to do to get us in a position that put us into the state championship tournament this year. And I'll talk about the team in a couple of minutes, but before I get to that, and this will be my last time doing this, but I also want to thank my wife, Christine, because as I'm out in the baseball field and helping out with the baseball team, it's just great to make sure that I know that somebody's home doing what they need to do to make sure that everything's fine there and taking care of things at the home front. So Christine, thank you very much for everything you've done. As I mentioned earlier, it was a fantastic season. I look at the flyer here that is put out. It said we had a 12-4 record. I'm not so sure that that's accurate. I had us finishing the year at 19-12. People ask me during the course of the year all the time, in particular, somebody from the Rutland Herald or somebody's in a away game, well, Coach, what's your record? I really don't know, to be quite honest with you, what our record is during the season. I don't pay attention to those things. I do know if we win or lose, but I'm not really paying attention to the wins and losses. But when I went through the book tonight, and I know we missed a couple of games because I didn't have somebody keeping the book for us, I had us at 19-12 overall. We came in third in the league. We won the Southern Division playoff, and we advanced to the state championship tournament for the third time in my 7 years as the coach at Post 31. So as far as I'm concerned, we had an outstanding season. A few highlights that stand out to me as I was sitting down at my computer today, just trying to think of some of the things that immediately popped out at me that were highlights of the season. And I know there's many more, so if I forget something, please bear with me. But a few of the highlights, and this one in particular stands out the most. Ryan Carter. If anybody went to our game over at Bellows Falls, we were going into the fifth inning. We were hanging on to a 5-3 lead, and I brought Ryan in relief in the fifth inning. And he proceeded to strike out the side in the fifth inning, the sixth inning, And in the bottom of the seventh inning, the kid hit a soft liner to right field, the first batter for the first out, and then he proceeded to strike out the next 2 batters. And you think about it, 8 out of 9 batters, and he came in and just literally shut down. That was probably one of the most dominant pitching performances that I have ever seen somebody his age at this level. And then at the end of the season, when we're playing a very good Fairhaven team, he comes in the 6th inning, the 7th inning, and pretty much does the same thing, striking out 5 out of the 6 players that he faced. Those 2 things stand out to me immediately. So Ryan, you had an outstanding season. I know from my standpoint, I wish he could have pitched a little bit more. I'll get into some of the problems we had with catchers and everything else a little bit later on. But I wanted to try to have Ryan focus a little bit more on his pitching this year. Unfortunately, because of our catcher situation and injuries, he wasn't able to do that. Another highlight for me is Joey Rodolfi. Joey pitched against Fairhaven at the end of the season, got a big win for us, pitched 5 innings, and 3 days later, in our last game of the year, a must-win situation for us to get into the playoffs. I asked Joe how his arm feels before the game. Great, coach. And I could tell it wasn't feeling great. I'll take a few Advil, I'll be fine. And Joe did just that. And on 3 days rest, he came in and pitched a great game. Got us through that Brattleboro game, which propelled us into the Southern Tournament. Joey did an excellent job for us this year, and that's just one highlight that stands out for me. South Burlington, the former state champions. We go up to play South Burlington, which is my brother-in-law's team, and I don't know what to do. We're definitely struggling a little bit on the mound, so I say, hey, Matty. I look at Matty Merritt. I said, Matt, have you ever pitched before? I'm ready, coach. That's the first thing he said, I'm ready, put me in. I said, all right, go get warmed up. He proceeded to come in and literally shut down the South Burlington team. I couldn't believe it. He was throwing a 12-6 curveball. I was like, where the heck did this come from? And we were sitting there as coaches saying, I think we just found something here. And we did, and we used Matt throughout the rest of the season, in particular in relief, but it was just so nice. And I know Coach Palomo, if he didn't catch wind of that, you were doing a little pitching. If he doesn't use you next year, then maybe I'll have to have a little conversation with him during the course of the season, but I'm sure he'll be using it. Another thing that stands out for me is, we're very fortunate, and I've been very fortunate in the past several years having some great outfielders. But Robbie Doring, if you haven't seen him have an opportunity to roam in the outfield, just does an outstanding job. There are times when I'm sitting in the dugout and the ball is hitting the outfield, and I'm saying, that's trouble. And just out of nowhere, this kid will come in and he'll slide, snag the ball, with just taking the ball right off of the top of the grass, and just catching the ball and immediately getting the ball back in. I mean, he took away so many base hits from our opponents this year that it was just fun to watch. Moving along, I just think of beating Fairhaven twice in the Southern Tournament and winning 3 consecutive games in the Southern Tournament, and none of those games were actually even close. I mean, between 2 games against Fairhaven and then a game against Bellas Falls, we just really rolled through that Southern Tournament, and it's too bad we couldn't have done that in the state championship game, but it was just outstanding to see how these guys gelled together at the end of the season and in that tournament in particular. And then finally, from something that stands out for me, and I probably won't forget this, but after we won the Southern Tournament, we got together as a team, and Ginger Kent at that point in time was in the Windsor Rehab Center, and I'll never forget Ginger coming up to visit you in the rehab center with the boys, and it was just a great visit that we had with you up there. So, and thank you very much for being a great fan of ours, you and Nancy. Thank you. As I mentioned before, there's a lot of notables, and I remember a lot of great plays. I can't tell these guys apart. I don't know if it was Jeff or Aaron, but one of them made a great diving play at third base. I'm going to say it was Jeff. I remember Mike made a nice diving play in the playoffs, and we had so many great plays during the course of the season. I just don't want to leave anybody out, but there were so many nice things that happened. But I'd be out here all night long if I was to mention all of those things. This year's team, we played together as a team. We seldom lost focus, and most of all, the kids had fun playing together. By American Legion standards, we had a very young team. There were only 4 players from this year's team that will not be eligible to come back next year and play. And You know, I know this was my last season coaching, but I expect to see you guys back in the state tournament next year, and not only being in the state tournament, but bringing back that state championship to Post 31. Just to talk about the players a little bit, and as I announce your name, for those guys that are here, if you wouldn't mind standing up, and then you can sit down afterwards. We had some of the newcomers, new players. We had Mike Triller. I'm going to be honest with you, the jury was out a little bit with Mike, only because of the fact that he missed the first day of tryouts. And I don't know the reason why that was, but he showed up on the second day, and I watched him take batting practice a little bit, and it's a sweet swing, you know, from the left side. And I looked at that, even though his bat speed was a little bit slow, I said, this kid can be a player. And then he was very confident in himself when we saw him out in the field. Very solid player for a tall kid. He has good range and did a nice job at second base. He actually did some nice subbing at second base for us when Matty Merritt wasn't in there. And I think that Post 31 will be hearing a lot about Mike Triller in the future from a baseball standpoint. Mike Triller. Matt Consolati. Matt is also a new player. I try to work with Matt quite a bit in batting cage this year. Is a very quick swing, a very aggressive swing, and I was really trying to get him to emphasize working in a back foot pivot. You know, he's struggling with that, and hopefully in the future he can continue to do that by working on the batting teams and doing some soft toss drills. But the nice thing about Matt, even though his mechanics aren't quite refined yet, he put this young man into a game. Being that he has a quick bat, he can compensate for some of that, the lack of the actual technique, and actually hits the ball very well. He's not a bad little shortstop, has a good arm, gets the ball across the field, and I think with a little practice, Matt is going to be a good player for Post 31 in the future as well. Michael McMahon. Mike is also a new player to the team. As you can see, he's a tall, lanky guy, has some great levers, left-handed pitcher. Nothing wrong with that. I threw Mike right into the fire early on in the season in a tight game, league game. I was late in the game, and I said, Mike, we'll get loose. Threw him in there, and 3 batters later, 3 outs later, about 9 pitches, we were out of the inning and we won the game. And he did that 2 or 3 times in the middle of the season. In the beginning of the season, I said, well, I think we really have something here. Unfortunately, you know, as the season goes on, you start running thin on pitchers, and as we got some real competitive games, I probably did Mike a little bit of a disservice. I put him in some tough games. You know, he hit around pretty well, but he is going to be a very good pitcher. He needs to work on mechanics a little bit, get yourself in the weight room a little bit, and I think you're going to be a very good player for Post 31 in the future. Mike McMahon. Alex Muskowski is not here this evening. Alex lives down in Manchester. He was a first-year team player. Alex did a little bit of everything for us this year. He was a left-handed pitcher, played a little bit in the outfield. Also did a little catching for us. Again, I mentioned earlier that we had some catching problems and issues and injuries there. But Alex did a nice job for us, you know, filling in. And my only regret with Alex is that he didn't play more during the course of the season. He missed quite a few games. Mike Serino. Mike is not here also, but he was a new player. Mike was a role player. He came to practice in every game, and you know, basically would sit there and just wait to be called on. You know, he has great speed. He's a good outfielder. Has a nice quick bat. Runs the bases very well. Whenever we needed a pinch runner, I'd be the first to call on Mike, and he would scoot around the bases, steal a base, whatever I needed him to do. And did a nice job covering the outfield, covering some ground in the outfield as well. So Mike Serino did a nice job for us. Another new addition, and he is not here either, but Mitch Blair. Mitch came to us from Mill River. Mitch is a catcher, and this is where our problems with the catching situation started. Mitch injured his knee I think it was just before July 4th weekend. And when that happened, and with Billy Shouldice, who was also on a team who had a hip injury, trying out for the team, when that happened to Mitch got hurt his knee, and Billy hurt his hip, I had to then come back to Ryan and say, hey, Ryan, as much as I want you to pitch, we need somebody with experience behind the plate. But there were still times that we needed to have Ryan come in and pitch, and I'll get to that a little bit later on. But when Mitch was healthy, he did an excellent job, and even though he was hurt towards the end of the year, he did a great job blocking balls in the tournament, threw a couple of players out, got a couple of hits for us, even though he couldn't run down to first base that well. And he actually took a beating in those games in the Southern Tournament and the playoffs because of being on his knees so much. So, but Mitch did a nice job for our team. Jeff Bloomer is here. Jeff? I got it right. Yeah. Quick story, Aaron was on the team last year, 2 years ago, and occasionally I'll go and do the shopping and I'll see Mr. Dorian at Price Chopper. At 7 o'clock in the morning, we'll have our coupon books out, doing a little shopping there. And I'll see, I was there and I saw what I thought was Aaron. I was sitting there having a conversation with him, and it wasn't Aaron at all. Or maybe I got this thing screwed up. Maybe it was Aaron, and I don't know. But these guys here, one of my memorable ones is trying to figure them out. They come to the team and they have the same haircut, and then one will shave, one doesn't, and then finally somebody says, Coach, just look at the ears. You can tell by the ears. So that's what I do now, is just take a look at the ears and I can figure these two guys out. But Jeff was a new member to the team. While Aaron was at Boy State, and Mike was actually, my son was visiting colleges. Jeff stepped in and did a great job for us playing third base, got some hits. Very solid, fundamental baseball player. In the field, throwing the ball, hitting the ball, did a great job for us throughout the year. I know he probably wished he could have played a little bit more, but he was a role player when we needed him. He came in, he did whatever we had to do. I mean, here's guys talking about the Bloomer brothers here. They took a couple of days off to do a little family thing, and when they came back, we were going to Bells Falls, and we were short of time in batting practice. So since these guys, I knew they weren't going to play much anyhow, because that's my policy. If you miss a couple of games, you have to sit. So they took batting practice, and I cut it short. But later in the game, I gave each one of those guys an opportunity after 4 days off to come in and get at least an at-bat, so they're getting ready for the next game. And both of them hit line drives up and down for base hits. So they're just outstanding athletes as far as hand-eye coordination and hitting. But Jeff did a great job for us. I don't mean to be long-winded. I mean, these guys just did a lot of nice things this year, and I don't want to leave anything out. Another new player for us this year is Joey Rodolphe. Joey, please stand. My only regret with Joe is that he didn't play for the team sooner. He called me and left a message one day early in June, and I came home and I listened to the message, and I was so thankful as a coach that he had called, because I watched Joe play, all the way through Little League and high school, and I knew that we could really utilize him at post 31 as a pitcher. And when he said, geez, Coach, I want to play, but I have to go up to orientation up at UVM. I said, Joe, go to orientation. I said, no problem. I said, whenever you get back, I said, just come down to practice. And he said, well, I'm not sure if I'm going to make it to one of the practices. But sure enough, he was there. And, based on what I know he could do, Joe just did an outstanding job for us this year. Pitched in a lot of clutch games for us. He's a very crafty left-handed pitcher. He doesn't throw necessarily hard, but he locates his fastball very well. Works on the changeup a little bit, but his curveball is so effective as a pitcher, he's very difficult to hit. And he had an outstanding year for us, and I mentioned before, he really did well that propelled us into the Southern Tournament this year. Joey Rodolphe. As far as veteran players are concerned, Billy Scholes is not here tonight, but Billy was on the roster, and it's unfortunate for Billy. He got hurt in our second tryout, or maybe it was in our first tryout day. He was running on first base, trying to leg out a base hit, and literally popped his the top of his hip off. The top portion just came right off his hip. and he had a pretty significant injury and had to take 8 weeks off and was never able to recover from that. He did come back a few times and showed up at practices, but he was not able to play, of course, this year, and that also led to Ryan having to catch a little bit more than I think he wanted to this summer. And I know he caught more than I wanted him to, but Billy was sorely missed this year. Aaron Bloomer. Aaron is probably one of the most solid hitters that I have seen in a long time. When you watch Aaron step to the plate, you know, he doesn't show you anything special, but he's very short, he's compact to the ball, hits line drives all the time. He has very quick hands, and is probably one of the best contact hitters that we have on the team. He hit 393 at a 393 average on the team, and played pretty much all over the place. He played in the outfield, he played first base, he played a little bit of third base up in South Burlington. I said, Aaron, you catch? He said, well, I used to. And I said, well, you're catching now. And I threw him in there, and he caught for us, and he caught for us a little bit later on in the season as well. But just an outstanding kid, very good baseball player like his brother, and I'm sure between these two guys, you're going to hear a lot from them next year, the Bloomer boys. But Aaron did a nice job for us this year. Aaron did. Andy Merritt. Second baseman this year, he hit 375 for the team. Did a very good job at second base, made some outstanding plays. I'm not sure exactly what his fielding percentage was, but he had very few errors. Covers ground very well, turns a double play very nice. One of the things, in addition to his pitching, which I talked a little bit about earlier, is Matt is just a competitor. You know, I don't know how much you're weighing now, Matt, but you take a look at Matt, throw him in a pool, he's probably about 150 pounds soaking wet. But he can hit the ball. He can do a lot of things because of not only his attitude to play, but also his competitive spirit. And just had an outstanding year for us. Played very well throughout down the stretch, and in the tournament in particular. Matty Merritt. TJ Oliver. TJ is not here today. TJ actually led the team in hitting this year. He had a .414 average. Unfortunately, he didn't play in a lot of games. He had about 25 fewer at-bats than some of the other members on the team. But TJ was a very significant part of our pitching staff. Played in the outfield, played a little bit at shortstop as well, and did a nice job for us overall on the team. Robbie Dorian. Talking a little bit earlier about Robbie and his exploits as an outfielder. Robbie had a pretty good year for us at the plate as well. I had him hitting 223 for us. Probably could have been a little bit higher than that. Again, there was a game or two that I didn't have, so I had to think back on that. But Robbie's just a fantastic outfielder. I know right now he's playing some college ball down south, down in Virginia, and I know he's going to do very well down there. It's very competitive, as you guys are going to find out if any of you guys are thinking about playing college baseball. You know, when you're playing around here in Rutland, your opportunities of making the team are much greater than if you go to even a Division III school. When you go to a Division III school, everybody there is pretty much all league, and the competition is very good. Robbie did an outstanding job for us this year and in years past, and he's a very feisty player. He's a competitor, wants to win, and it was a real key component to our success with Post 31 this past summer. Robbie Dorian. Ryan Carter. Ryan hit 382 for us this year. I already talked to you about his pitching performance. Ryan's also a very good catcher. Probably has the strongest arm down to second base. Not the quickest release, but the strongest arm down to second base. There's no question about that. Had a very good year for us. I know that probably down at Woodstock, they don't want to see him down there, where he had back-to-back plate appearances for home runs into the bleachers down there. Did a couple home runs for us, a couple doubles, a few extra base hits. But just did an outstanding job for us. Good player. Did very well for us down the stretch, an outstanding pitcher, and I think that you may be seeing Ryan playing a little bit of college ball in a few years, and maybe further, who knows. Ryan Carter. Casey Battles. I like watching TV and I like watching ESPN, but one of the things that I noticed this year is that I think it was the first or second game, Chad Ryan gets up in the first inning, first batter hits a home run, and out of the corner of my eye I hear, "Bartender!" Here I am watching the ball go out of the park, and I'm turning around, "Bartender?" Where's this coming from? But apparently I was talking to Casey about that earlier, got it off of ESPN. Anytime somebody jacks the ball out of the yard, that's what he would say. And he had a few opportunities to do that this year. Casey's a great kid, been out with the team a couple of years. The nice thing with Casey is that he came to every practice, came to every game, and whenever I needed to insert him into the game, he did very well for us. Had a couple of pinch hits for us when he was inserted into the game. Played some good first base for us as well. And I know that Post 31 will miss you being on a team next year, Casey Battles. Mike Sorelli, my son is not here this evening. He's actually home sleeping right now. He came down with a pretty severe case of mono a couple of weeks ago and is home from college. And I know my wife left him on the couch sleeping. I know he wanted to come here, but he's been sleeping quite a bit lately. Mike had a great year for us, hit .341. He led the team with extra base hits. He had 2 home runs, 2 triples, and 7 doubles. And really came on strong for the middle portion of the year. And I'm sure he'd like to be here tonight, but obviously he is not. Zach Aquistapes. I was really looking forward to Zach coming back this year. And in our first game, we go down to Chester. Zach was 3 for 4. He had a single, he had a double, he had a home run. And I said, wow, this is going to be fun. You know, as a coach, you know, you throw batting practice, and there's been a few guys that I have thrown batting practice again at Post 31, Zach being one of them, where you make sure that you stay behind the L screen. You really make sure you stay behind the L screen. And, you know, Bill Lezer was another one, and there was a few other guys that I just made sure I always stayed behind the L screen. And Zach hits the ball with authority. He really does. I know he had an injury earlier on in the year, diving for a ball. Yeah, I think affected his swing a little bit. He didn't hit the ball, I'm sure, the way he would like to have during the course of the year, but he played excellent at first base for us defensively, and also had some nice pitching performances for us as well. Zach Aquistapes. And Zach was also one of our co-captains. And finally, Chad Ryan. Chad was also one of our co-captains. I feel bad for Chad also, like Ryan, who had to do some things differently. You know, this year we were all set to have probably one of the better shortstops in the league or in the state play for us. But as things turned out, he wasn't able to do that. So when the season started, we really didn't have a shortstop. So I know Chad played shortstop when he was at Mill River in his senior season. An outfielder by trade, but I said to him, I said, Chad, I said, what do you think about playing shortstop for us? And he just gave a sigh and he says, whatever you need me to do, Coach. Whatever you need me to do. And he did. And you know what? He struggled a little bit at the beginning of the year, but overall he did a fantastic job for us at shortstop. I apologize, Chad, for having to move you out of position, but you did a solid job for us there. Did a great job for us hitting. You were solid throughout the season. Had a couple of home runs as well, a couple of home runs earlier in the season. And just an overall a great person and great baseball player, Chad Ryan. I've been involved with baseball as either a player or as a coach for the past 38 years, and I've enjoyed every minute of my time, both as a player and as a coach. And I say almost every minute because as a player and a coach, there can be some trying moments and trying times. And you know, when you're a competitor and you want to win all the time, you know, when things don't always work out your way, it does make it trying. But these guys are excellent to work with this year. I will say that they're probably one of the most knowledgeable group of baseball players that I have worked with. I know we had some battles in the dugout, about particular situations, we should be doing what and where. And finally I said, listen guys, this is the way we're going to do it. But sometimes I would listen to them and come back and said, yes, what you said has some validity, but there's always two sides to everything. It could be 6 to one, half dozen to another, and depending on particular situations. But at least these guys were thinking the game, and they really played well, as a team. And that was great. It was great to coach kids who were, interested in learning the game. As I go on here, most of you know that it's time for me to step down. And I felt it this past year, in coaching. I just think that, I've been coaching for the past 22 years, and it's been a privilege and an honor to be a part of this historic program, for the past 7 years. And my hope is that your new coach can attain a level of success that has eluded me in my 7 years of being a head coach. And to, like I said earlier, to those of you who are returning, you have a great nucleus of players, and I hope that next year we can bring the state championship back to Post 31. Thank you very much.
And we certainly wish you the best in future endeavors. And certainly Tony Sorelli, ladies and gentlemen, watching Tony be the coach for the past several years at Rutland Post 31, it'll certainly be hard to replace. But best of luck in your future endeavors, Tony. Let's give him a nice hand. Now, I believe Suzanne Quista-Pace to our right, I believe we have a nice little slideshow about the celebration at Windsor, Glenn Carter was up at the top row there. And he didn't realize, he was so far away, didn't realize the game was over. But I'm glad to see you made it back, Coach.
And I still make better calls than umpire.
Well done, Suzanne, that was very nice. And again, congratulations to the Southern champs. As Coach Dorelli mentioned, none of those games were even close. Had that one pretty well in the bag over at Windsor. My great pleasure now to introduce you to our guest speaker, Chad Benz, who, as you heard earlier, now lives between West Rutland and Ira. Chad was born and raised in Alaska, and he told me earlier he can see Russia from there. Only the second pitcher in history to pitch in the big leagues with one hand, the other being Jim Abbott, who pitched with the Yankees and the Angels. He pitched at the big league level with the Montreal Expos and the Florida Marlins. He played for the USA's Olympic pitching coach Dave Snow for 2 years at Long Beach State University. He was the Alaska 1999 Gatorade Player of the Year. He was drafted by the Yankees in 1999 right out of high school. In 01 and 02 he did play at Long Beach State. In 2001 he was drafted by the Expos in the 7th round. He signed with the Montreal Expos. 2002 was an all-star in the Florida State A-League. 2003 he was the pitcher of the year for the Harrisburg Senators in the Eastern League, which is double A ball. In 2003 he won the Good Samaritan Award with the Harrisburg Senators. In 2003 in October he was added to the Major League 40-man roster. In 2004 he was voted the most inspirational player in spring training. Also in 2004, he made the opening day roster for the Montreal Expos as he signed with them as a free agent in the previous December. And what a tremendous resume, and we're so proud to have Chad Benz as our guest speaker tonight. Chad?
Thanks, Jack. Thanks for the free meal. Good night. I told Ron it was going to be short, but no. Thanks for letting me come and talk to you guys, and thanks for Ron and Tony letting me come. It was a great film. Did a good job. Brought back a lot of memories, a lot of playing memories. Yeah, I was born and raised in Alaska, and I like this program because it reminds me of the one I grew up in, and didn't have the best situation, I'd say. The weather doesn't really help you out, and there's just not a lot of games. But when we got a chance to play, we got after it. And I remember coming, I was here. Unfortunately, I was a little hurt and came and threw some BP for these guys, and they wanted to be there, they wanted to get better, they wanted to win, which, yeah, if you're going to play something, you might as well win and try to get better. But I remember when I was my brother and I would go to the garage and take a little ski pole and take some paper and wrap some tape around it. We didn't have a screen. We're not the brightest boys, but we'd flick them to each other and try to hit them. And we were in the garage and we could see our breath. But it was a drill. And if you didn't keep your eye on the little ball with the little ski pole, you weren't even going to come close to smacking it. But it was a way that we could practice, and so we took advantage of it. When I got to high school, I took off. Have some family in Michigan. I'm a Lions fan, so be easy, very easy. But went down there, played some ball, and it was just like here. We played about, it seemed like 8 games a week, but got seen a little bit. Came back to high school. I went down to this, I don't know if you guys have heard of Doyle. It's a good academy. Went down there, worked that, and a scouting guy was down there, saw me throw, and he's a guy for the Bureau, which means you have these certain scouts that report back to a team. This guy reports to the league, all 30 teams. So I get back from, I throw in front of him, I go home, say, hey Mom, have any messages? And she said, well, yeah, you got the Yankees called, Oakland, Detroit, and it sort of took me off guard, and that's when it really started to happen, but didn't think anything of it. I mean, yeah, I wanted to play ball for a living and didn't really think I really could, you know, just because the situation didn't get a lot of playing time and the odds are not in your favor. But thought maybe getting these calls, I started to think I possibly could. Then after my senior year, I get drafted by the Yankees, which is cool to say, but I wasn't ready. And I decided I wanted to sort of live up the college life a teeny bit. And so went to Long Beach State with Coach Snow, who was a tremendous pitching coach, and he taught me a lot. And after 2 years, I was fortunate to be sophomore eligible, be 21 before the draft. So I got drafted again with Montreal. I talked it over with my folks, thought about it, and decided I was ready to start the big track to the big leagues. I mean, people think you sign with the team and you're on TV, like basketball a lot and football. There's rookie ball, there's short A, there's low A, there's high A, there's double A, there's triple A. Then it's the fun stuff. Then you get to the big leagues. And you guys remember Montreal? They paid people to come watch. So I was on the fast track, and I was blessed to get the opportunity to make a team. And I remember the day when I walked in. It was the last day of spring training. I had no idea what was going on. And Frank Robinson was my manager, and he walked up, stuck out his hand, and said, congratulations, you're a big leaguer. And I'll never forget that or the feeling. I mean, I just got the little tingles right now just even thinking about it. But a guy of that stature to introduce me into the league and welcome me was, I'll never forget it. And then that was the only nice thing he did. They didn't go by without something. But I was, I'm nothing special. Look at me. I mean, I was a kid with a big imagination, and I put in a lot of sweat. I worked hard, and I think that I don't care if you're trying to play baseball or be a doctor or anything, garbage man, just do it. Do it hard and do it your best, because otherwise you're just wasting your time. But if you want to play or want to do something, do it, try it, and don't let anyone tell you what you can and can't do. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here right now. And yeah, everyone says, "Oh, are you Jim Abbott?" No, I'm not Jim Abbott, but I got the chance to meet him, and that was. Everybody has their favorite player. That guy was an inspiration for me. I didn't want to do anything. When I was younger, you know how little kids are. You know, they'll say whatever's on their mind, and they still do. And it's pretty funny what what you're asked, what I've been asked, especially by the reporters. But they always say, "Did you ever expect to get here?" And I said, "No." And I remember my dad, he said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" I said, "Baseball player." He said, "Well, that's going to be tough." I said, "Why?" Because, well, you play about 15 games a year, and you got your little hand there. He wasn't like discouraging me at any means, but I truly believe, well, God put me on the earth, made me like this so I could, for a reason. But to sum it up pretty much, I, very blessed, and I think a lot of this program, and hopefully I'm not around next year, during the summer at least, but we tried doing something this fall for the first time, and I think it went pretty well. It was really short, but we had a good time, I think, and just had a chance to keep playing, and that's what you guys got to do. If you guys want to play, and just, if you're going to do something, do it right, and you guys can do it, because if I can do it, I swear to God, any of you guys can. And I'm left-handed. That helps. But again, I appreciate you guys letting me come here and speak to you guys. And you know, it was a great meal. I appreciate it. And anything I can do to help out, let me know, because I'm trying to just build this place up. If there's interest, I'm on board. So give me a call or whatever, and let's try to get it more programs, more games in the summer, and so anyway, I appreciate it. Hope you guys had a good Thanksgiving. I'm still stuffed from it, but I managed to eat another plate. But you guys have a wonderful holiday, you and your family, and God bless. Thank you.
Jack Vance, ladies and gentlemen, you are special. Not for just being in the major leagues, but being a Detroit Lions fan. That's during these trying times. We just before I didn't want to put too much pressure on Chad. About halfway through Tony's talking about the players and so forth, I leaned over to Chad and said, "You're a little bit nervous?" So sorry about that, Chad. I said, "But you're lucky about one thing. I've gone to some banquets where the guest speaker is after the trophies. That's where you really got to be careful. But if you're, as long as you're the guest speaker before the trophies, that's okay." But excellent job. Thank you very much. I guess here, anybody at the head table want to say a few words? Doug McPhee is here, Mr. Bellows Falls.
You know, sportsmanship is a big part of American Legion Baseball, as big as winning. And sometimes some teams and organizations have trouble understanding that. But in all the years that I've watched American League Baseball in the state of Vermont, Rutland, Post 37, has always played with the greatest sportsmanship, and you should be applauded for that, because it's not just Coach Sorelli and Ron and George, it's you as players, and thank you. I enjoy watching you, and keep up the good work.
John, do you have a few words for us? Just to say hi? How things down at Worcester, or that area?
Well, we only have a few months before we start heading down to Fargo, and we're all set. Ron is ready to go, Bill is ready to go, and if our pacemaker keeps going, the doctor said I got 5 more years on it. Not bad at 79.
Congratulations, John. I know, actually, I mentioned the trip this year to North Carolina. It was John, Bill, and Ron. You all went, right? And I think it was, what was it like? You guys, I read all about it in Sam's Good News, Sam Caruso's here, about the trip to North Carolina. I mean, a baseball fan's dream, huh? What was it, 15 games a day or something like that?
Ron and Bill are down in the dining room at 4:25, and then they come back again at 7, and then at 8 when the other gang come down.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, that's a baseball fan's dream, that's for sure. And of course, I remember, what was it, the trip last year where, did Bill drive over the spray can, the can of paint in the car or something, and the spray can, you like this one, Doug, up here, they went to the World Series a year ago, and Bill rented a car and ran over a can of spray paint and spray painted the rental car. So.
Yeah, but how about the one up in the mountain, the back of the road, where they had the outhouse?
And anybody else have a few words for us? George Bennett, who's I'm glad he's going to be back. George, who went to the first base coaching box when the other team was up, which confused me. I didn't know what I was doing. Remember that one, George? Yeah. Because I know Jerry was there that day too. The guy, who was it? Was it the guy from Brattleboro? Or Woodstock. It was Woodstock. No, I'm talking about the guy that hit the home run and he missed home plate. Yeah, Woodstock, and of course Ryan. You should have yelled up and told us what the heck you were doing there, Ryan. We didn't know whether we were coming or going. Matter of fact, I think that led to my retirement from WSYP. I don't know what happened. I thought I went from everywhere from well, first of all, I threw George under the bus saying, damn, George is telling us the wrong story down there, which run counts and all that stuff. Then we blamed it on a thunderstorm that wasn't even coming. You know, it must be lightning or something. It was clear skies, but there's a couple of highlights I remember for sure. And I want to reintroduce you to, again, unless anybody has any words here. And I know I say this has become a tradition, by the way, like the banquet itself, to quote the late Reggie Ball, famous trainer at Rutland Post 31. Now, Flory would rather lose a tooth than lose a baseball. just had to keep the tradition going, Bill, that's all. Tony Cirelli will welcome back the coach. And Ron Fairbanks. And Jamie and Jordan.
Okay. Couple of things first. Tony was following before we go by the league. We don't go by, you know, all these other games and whatever. We just go by league games, that's it. Okay? And about the bartender business with Casey, I was out in North Carolina and I'm sitting there way out there in Shelby, North Carolina. And I hear this guy yell, "Bartender!" I said, "Where's Casey?" I swear to God it was him. But anyways, they got all the way up there. And before we get with the awards, I want to introduce these guys that got some awards in the tournament. Chad Ryan was all-tourney shortstop. Please stand up. Aaron Bloomer, all-tourney left fielder. Dorian, all-tourney center fielder. This player, all-tourney catcher. Joe Rodolphe, all-tourney pitcher. Ryan Carter, all-tourney utility player. And Manny Merrick, MVP. Then we went to the state. Chad Ryan got the state scholarship award. And Ryan Carter got the sportsmanship award. And our back girl, Natasha McPhee, got the dedication award. That's the prettiest little back girl in the state. Congratulations. Tony thanked everybody else for everything, so I'm not going to go redo it all over again. But to my ball players and back girl, what can I say? Every year is a different adventure, and I'm looking forward to next year. Why don't I retire? I don't know. It's you guys, I guess. But anyways, I want to thank all the parents too. And they spend a big time of their summer following this team. And Mr. Ryan for the Gatorade, he was always bringing us Gatorade, and all these other parents that donated a lot of time. So I think you deserve a round of applause too. And before we leave, I want to make sure that all the players and coaches stay for a minute so we can have a group picture taken by Sam Gruso and maybe Bob Dean. Because last time you guys took off, we had to chase it down the road. So now we're going to continue with the awards. And I'm not going to, you know, thank my family or my wife because Tony already did it. My wife don't want me to say thanks to her, but I'm going to say thanks to her anyways. I love you, hon. Okay. We're going to do a couple of special awards first, and we'll have Mr. Cirelli.
Jerry, can you see me?
Yep.
Good. Come on up here. Leave your camera. First award, a special thank you to Jerry for all that you have done to promote Legion Baseball and taping our games for us. And we just, again, Jerry, thank you very much for everything that you've done for our program over the years. You're welcome. Thank you, Jerry. We'll let you get refocused there before we continue. I'd like to thank Bob Dean. Bob, thank you very much for all the pictures you have given to us over here, for coming down and taking pictures for us down at the field. Thank you very much. Thanks, Bob. Bob's been taking pictures for us, at least for the 7 years that I've been at Post 31, and I'm sure he's done it for a long time before that also. I'd also like to thank Sam Baruso. Sam, thank you for all you've done to promote American Legion Baseball and Sam's Good News. Sam's still here?
Bathroom.
We'll wait for Sam.
You gotta go, you gotta go.
As the baseball coach, nothing would please me more than to be able to give awards to all the players. But as you guys realize, that's not what the real world's all about. You know, as coaches, we sit down and we discuss in the early fall, you know, who's going to receive the awards, and it comes down to us voting for all the players. So, with that in mind, not all the players are able to get, you know, an actual award from the standpoint of receiving a plaque or a trophy, but we do have shirts and certificates. Unfortunately, the shirts are not in yet. So we'll get that to you for Christmas, or for the holidays.
Maybe for spring training.
So with that in mind, Mitch Blair is not here, but Aaron Bloomer, come on up. Aaron? This is a certificate from Post 31 and also a team picture.
The way I tell these two apart, this one walks like a farmer. Runs like one too.
Good boy, thanks, Aaron. Matt Cancelati. Matt, come on up.
Shirts in the mail. Gotta get a wide angle. I got one. Matt is going to be one of our future players, one of our future stars. We'll be working him in.
You want to do the next one? Natasha McPhee, come on up, Natasha. For those of you who don't know Natasha, she's related to you, isn't she? Of course, she's good looking. Thanks, Natasha. Thank you, Natasha. Those players that are out here that are receiving shirts and certificates, also Alex Muskowski, TJ Oliver, Mike Serino, and Billy Schuldex. Sam, come on up, Sam. We have a little award here for you.
Thank you.
So I want to thank you for everything that you do for Legion Ball and promoting us, and Sam Good's News. Thank you very much.
We'll use that picture. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Is this a newly created award? This is a new award. Mike, I had nothing to do with this. Okay, I'm just letting you know right up front. But you are receiving the Most Retrieved Ball Award for at games for getting foul balls from us from running. Plus your certificate and your shirt, which will be coming for the holidays. Thanks, brother. I also forgot to mention earlier, Mike did a nice job for us pitching this year as well, and I'm sure he'll see some time on the mound next year for Post 31. I'm going to go through these kind of quick. I know it's been a long evening. We're going to start with the Rookie of the Year award. The Rookie of the Year doesn't always mean that the person is a first-year player sometimes, or like a freshman into the program. Sometimes you can be an upperclassman coming into Legion for the first time. But this year's Rookie of the Year goes to Jeff Bloomer. Thanks, Jeff. Hustle Award, this was a pretty easy one for us. I talked to you a little bit earlier on about this guy just hustling all over the outfield for us. But the 2008 Hustle Award goes to Robbie Dorian. Ray Murphy Defensive Award this year goes to the individual who had an outstanding year at first base for us, Zach Acquistapes. You'll be reading about Zach in the paper next spring, playing for Castleton State. He's made the team. Jack talked a little bit earlier about Bill Flory. For those of you who don't know Bill, Bill's right over here. Bill has done an outstanding job. Coached for Post 31 for how many years, Bill? I know I ask you this question every year, but how many years did you coach for the team? 36 years, and how many state championships? 9 state championships. 36 years, 9 state championships. Finished my 22nd year of coaching, and I can't even imagine coaching for 36 years. But you know, Bill is just a fantastic guy, and we have an award that goes out in his name, the Bill Flory Coaches Award, and that award this year goes out to bartender Casey Battles. Region Ball Sportsmanship Award goes out to a new player to the program. This young man's a true gentleman. We mentioned earlier he's going to be an asset to the program in the future. did a nice job for us on the mound as a left-handed pitcher, Michael McMahon. The Paul Teranzini Dedication Award this year goes out to an individual who didn't play much his first 2 years, was behind a good third baseman, and just started pretty much playing this year full-time and did a little pitching for us himself. Unfortunately, he's not here this evening, but it's my son, Mike Sorelli. Most improved player. This guy did a great job for us, and I talked about him earlier. I know that as a pitcher, sometimes it's difficult to get up there, day in and day out and throw strikes and to have an impact for your team. And I know Ryan struggled a little bit throwing strikes earlier on in his career, but this year he was just lights out. As a pitcher, he was focused. He learned some new strategies to keep himself focused out in the mound. Sometimes I had to tell him, something he learned a little bit earlier on in his high school season, coaching or playing for his dad, is to step off the mound, count to 10, and take a few deep breaths and start all over again. We did an outstanding job working on his control and improving himself as a pitcher. Most improved player, Ryan Carter. Most valuable pitcher goes out to our lefty, who pitched in a lot of big games for this year, including the game that got us into the Southern Tournament, Joey Godolphin. Batting title was close. Mere percentage points, batting .394 for the team. Did a great job for us all year long, hitting the ball, very consistent. Chad Ryan. The last award that I'm going to be giving out this evening is our Most Valuable Player Award. And this goes to a young man who just had an outstanding season for us. Did very well for us defensively, very well at the plate, had an outstanding postseason for us, and really helped us get through the Southern Tournament. Hit the heck out of the ball and played great at second base. Matt Merritt, Most Valuable Player.
You'll be in the next one. I don't want minutes. Thank you, Tony. We got a couple more that we give out for scholarships, and what I did is I did 2 at $2.50 apiece. And the first one goes to, he's home sleeping in bed, but that's all right, his daddy will accept it, Mike Sorelli. Okay, then the next one at $2.50 goes to Zach across the base. Where was I going now, Bobby? Oh, I know, we're going over here, Bobby. You want to hand these to them, these younger gentlemen? Okay, also to my assistant coach, goes George Bennett. I have a certificate for you from the post.
Boy, George.
Our other assistant coach, all the way from Manchester, Jamie Briggs. And not least, but the guy I put up with for 7 years, and I really enjoy him. He has a nickname of Catfish, but we won't go there. Tony Cirelli. And we have one more award that goes out from Post 31, and it's for in grateful appreciation for your coaching and dedication to American Legion Baseball, Post 31, 2002-2008, Mr. Tony Cirelli. Now, nobody goes away because I think we're going to have a drawing here somewhere. We can find what to do with the tin bucket. Right, John? And while I'm walking around getting this bucket, we're going to have 3 leather jackets or black jackets, whatever you want to call them, 2 baseball hats, and an autographed baseball from the 2008 baseball team, and Chad Bentz. Signed it also. Yeah. Going to the line for the airport and everything like that. They go through the pacemaker one, of course, but they're fun to be with, I'll tell you. They're a lot of fun. We already got our tickets in our motel for Fargo, North Dakota, and we'll be in the pool at 6. Is that right, John? We're doing aerobic swimming. Well, take it out while you swim. Anyways, that's it for me, gentlemen, and ladies and gentlemen. I'll give it back to Mr. Jack up there, and we'll see y'all next year.
I just want to say thank you to the coaches for an excellent season. Just say thank you. We put together a book of the whole season, a bunch of pictures and stuff. We've got one for each of you.
You don't want that. Boy.
Right angle.
Okay. Thank you. If anybody else wants to say anything, and I think Mrs. Pace, would you like to say something? She has some CDs for the kids.
I just gave the boys a
Okay, give the boys some.
I
Okay.
don't have a copy.
Thank you, and what a great job. There's a couple other things. Chad, what are you laughing at? A dinner for 2 for you for showing up and eating our food. Jack Haley, these are dinner for 2. Okay, and Mrs. Pace for all you've done for us. Okay? Thank you very much. Thanks, Rob.
Not for anything, but I thought you did retire. I thought you did retire. Who the heck do you think you are, Brett Favre? No, hey, thank you for all you do, Ron. Believe me, they don't call him Steinbrenner for nothing. Just on a closing note before we have Bill back up here, I just on a note, and I say this every year, but I know you guys. I appreciate it now, and you'll appreciate it more. I mentioned earlier how many years back I remember coming to this banquet, the early 80s, back into the 70s, the previous Legion Hall before it was renovated some years ago, with Bill way back, and many people, I mean, you look back to the 70s, the golden era of American Legion baseball. Certainly, I consider the mid-70s and all those battles between Rutland Post 31 and Bennington, all those years. But what a great program this has been. How lucky you guys are to play in such a wonderful town and such a wonderful Legion post like this. And I'm humbled every year by being here, not only the baseball part of it, but the veterans here at the American Legion. Without their efforts in previous encounters around the world, we wouldn't be able to have a lovely banquet like this. You guys wouldn't have a lovely place to play in a beautiful town like this. On a personal note, and I don't want to certainly embarrass him, but Tom Haley is here tonight from the Rutland Herald, just a great sports writer, as we all know. His son, Evan, in the United States Marine Corps, just back after 2 tours of duty in Iraq. Tom, we salute you and your family, and thank you. Because of people like you and your son, we were able to have a wonderful banquet in one of America's great towns, Rutland, Vermont. Thank you, Tom. Let me call back Post 31 Chaplain Bill Sweeney.
Be gracious unto us, O God, and bless us as we depart from this place. Stretch forth thy protection and guard our country, that we, being devoted to thy service, ever be defended by thy power. Amen.
Thank you, everybody, and we'll catch you next year. Thank you.